welcome to another episode of The Old Shop, and today we're going to be looking at the front garden and also the heath and a little clip of the sea where you see a seal if you look really closely bobbing up and down. And what else do we look at? Oh yes, I went for a little trip out to see a medieval rood screen. Always very inspired by the colours in that, so I hope you enjoy that as well. And before any of that, I just want to show you the mead that I made last time, the Midsummer mugwort mead, and I put it into a bottle, and I'm just pouring it for the very first time. This is the first sipping, so wait a minute, I'll just pick it up. Here we are. This is it. So it's quite honey coloured, and I'm just going to taste it and tell you what it's like. Oh, that is really nice. It tastes of honey, and it just tastes sweet and very midsummery and kind of, warm and delicious. So I definitely recommend that recipe if you didn't see last time. You can find the recipe on Danu's Irish Herb Garden channel, which I really also recommend. Very, very interesting channel with lots of ideas on it. So anyway, without further ado, let's get started. I was just having my coffee and I thought I would just show you how it's all looking in the garden, and you've got all the even more of a carpet of rose petals around the garden guardian. As you can see, I've got my coffee out here and my biscuit, would you call it a biscuit? Cookie, probably more accurate. And I made these this morning, and they are actually almost exactly a Deliciously Ella recipe, and it's just my favourite recipe I've ever made of any genre. And so I thought I would share that with you, and I'll put it into the text underneath, because they're called roasted hazelnut and chocolate and sea salt cookies. And I'm not actually always that much of a one for cookies. If you could have something else sweet, like a vegan Rocky Road or little bun or something, but these are just absolutely delicious. They are just, they'll just melt in the mouth. This is the third batch I've made. As soon as I've finished one batch, and I must say I'm not gobbling them up, I only have like one a day. It's my treat with my coffee. As soon as I finish one batch, I just make another one, and this is the third one I've made. In fact, the first batch was the best, but I'm going to, one of these days I shall emulate that first glory. They were all nice, and I think you might enjoy them, so I'll put the recipe down below and see what you think. I'll just do a little scan around from where I'm sitting here. I will get up and show you the garden, because apparently it's going to rain in a little while, later this afternoon anyway. So I thought I'd come out here this is sort of lunchtime really, but I'm having a late coffee. I thought I'd come out here while it is sunny, and also I must make an effort, not just an effort to show you the garden, but I'd like to do that while I'm out here because it will rain later. I was going to do it yesterday and then it rained, so it poured in fact later on yesterday. And so I thought, I did see the forecast was better today, so I shall show you, because even in the while since we've been here, which was it was new St John's Eve, we've had old St John's Eve since then, but so it wasn't so long ago, but even so, as you'd expect, the garden's moved on. Can you hear the sparrows? So I'll just finish my coffee and then I'll get up and I'll show you around. So come through the garden gate with me and we'll have a look and see how things are moving on with the season, which they are. The roses are really coming to an end now. You don't kind of look in and notice roses so much as you did. Although, having said that, the roses, this new dawn, seems to be really good at keeping its flowers. And I think it only flowers once, but it does flower for a long time. So I really recommend that rose. And we hear the geese over the road. Oh, can you hear them? There are only 2 of them, but they make a lot of noise, which I like. So I think the thyme is really, really fully out now compared to how it was. Oh, I gave the garden guardian a little floral decoration. He's got a Lady of the Lake rose on his head, which he doesn't seem to mind. The sparrows are quite active at the moment. They're up and down, in and out of the eaves and across the hedge. But anyway, let's have a look at the foxgloves, because they've got flowers at the top, but there's lots of seed heads going on here, which I always love to see. They're so beautiful. Now, who would guess they'd have this beauty as the flowers finish? But they do. And here are the, I think they're heleniums that are going to flower. They're a bit later in the summer, those flowers. And this is the Sungusculba, which I think it's what it's called anyway. It's a kind of cultivated form of burnet, and it's, as you can see, it's grown really tall. It's as tall as me, just about. It's not quite out yet, but it's just on the cusp of coming out. And the green wizard are the cones of the flowers are getting taller as they do. The Aquilegia, their seed heads as well. I just love these beautiful seed heads that we get, and also I like knowing that they will dry in time and scatter their seeds, so I'll probably help them by collecting some seeds and scattering them, because they are one of my favourite flowers. The roses, again, are not looking their best now, but there are still some flowers, and the clematis are lovely. And this really strange sea holly is out. Really odd looking, but I knew it was like this, and I really like it. It's really good for wildlife. The insects love the heads, these heads as well. Paul's Himalayan musk rose, again, it's kind of going over now, but rather than deadheading it, I'm going to let it run to hips, because it should have really nice hips. The strawberries, I haven't really got strawberries yet, but the flowers are amazing, and the leaves are really, really lush, so I think that will happen. Again, the water is pretty covered with vegetation, which is really good news. And in fact, all the earth at the back here is much more covered with vegetation than it was, so I'm really happy about that. And some more heleniums here. This is where the bird table was, and I'm not saying I won't put it back in the winter, I may well do, but just, well, it's not here. It's nice that the plants have recovered and have come up. They were being trampled all the time before. So I might find somewhere else for it rather than this tiny front garden, especially if the rats decide they're going to find it again. We'll see. I haven't decided yet. Luckily, it's quite a while till the winter yet, so we've got a little while to think about it. And this is a really stately foxglove with beautiful seed heads again, and up and up and up and up to the sky. And this is much taller than me. The sky's lovely, although you can see it's clouded over quite a bit really suddenly. The hedge is full of blackberry blossom, and I'm really surprised how late it is. We're nowhere near having blackberries, and considering we're into July now, I think that's really late. But when they do come, as long as there's more rain, which I think there will be, looking at the forecast, then hopefully, at least if it comes at the right time, we should have a really bumper crop of blackberries, because there really is a lot of blossom, as you can see. You can hear the bees busy as well. And this is another of the green wizards, and look how this one's, the centre of that's grown. You can see how good that would be for insects coming along. The more surface it has, the better, I should imagine anyway. And this one, you can see the ring of little I suppose they're the little flower parts in the middle there. Really interesting. It's a lovely plant, really interesting to watch its development. I think that's probably all I wanted to show you. Another sign of the season moving on are all these finished blossoms of the foxglove in the bird bath all the time. But I like to see. I know people can be quite sad at the thought of summer moving on, and then other people are really glad to think of autumn coming because autumn's their favourite season. And I know it's a real cliche to say there are things to love about every season, but there actually are. So I like the later summertime as well, when you get the things like Michaelmas daisies and these heleniums, which are, as you can see, in bud. They'll be really nice when they come out as well. And we'll get the fruit coming, and all sorts of compensations for the end of things like roses and foxgloves, which are so beautiful. And when I come into the garden now, I don't know if I've shown you the 2 stones in the last video. I don't think I put them down then, but there's this dragon stone, which is stone that very, very heavy stone that I know, as I put it in my backpack when we were in Cornwall at the Lizard, or on the Lizard Peninsula, and the stone there is a serpentine stone. So I thought to think of it as my dragon stone, and I managed to get it. It was like a lot of things, it was my mum's in storage for a long time, outside her house actually. So I've got that now, and I've decided this would be a lovely place for it in the front, guarding the 2 sides of the path here. The other side I've got another stone, which was also heavy but not quite so heavy, that came from Shropshire. A beautiful camping trip that we had many years ago now. I think it was about 2006 or something like that. I think that's when it was. And it's from a place called the Stones, and there's the Devil's Chair, which is where we were making for, which is a rocky formation, and you can look across into Wales. It's absolutely beautiful and gorgeous. And I brought that stone, and it's full of the stones that are strewn around tend to be square like this. I'll just move that leaf so you can see it better. A sort of squarish shape. I guess it's just how they splinter off. So I was able to bring one of them back, and really, really, really happy with them. But it's interesting the different feel that they both have, because as I walk through, I always think there's a crouched animal down there. It just seems really soft and animal-like. Whereas this one, I'm always stubbing my foot on as I go past. I just always seem to, like not hurt myself exactly, but almost hurt myself on it. So it's just interesting, they're different energies. But if I step back, you can see how they are each side there, and you pass through them to get to the rest of the garden. Look what I've just noticed, the first baby conkers. Really is moving on. I first saw some little tiny ones on the lane, and I looked up and there were some bigger ones here. It's almost unbelievable how the year is moving on. I'm not going to be sad about it. It's easy to feel sad because I did love the bright red colour of what I now know is sheep sorrel, the red flower that I've kept talking about all this time and saying I'll find out by next time. Well, I have found out it's sheep sorrel. Somebody kindly on Instagram told me, and I looked up and I recognised this as well. But it's not red anymore. It's lost its colour, and I suppose it's going to a different phase. So you don't notice it in the same way as you were. Just a couple of weeks ago, the heath was really a sea of red and white. There were little tiny white flowers, which I now know are heath bedstraw. But I'll be lucky to even find one to show you. But I think there probably are just a few left flowering. But it's just so sudden. They suddenly go and other things take over. And what is now coming to the fore is the heather, which is also obviously lovely anyway. I'll just show you how the heather is coming on here. Lots of purple, and I'm hoping to harvest some of this heather. I'm not quite sure yet what I'm going to do with it. I might try make some heather mead, if the mead that I'm making at the moment works out nicely. I've put it into bottles, but I haven't tasted it yet. It still smells amazing. but we shall see. But if it is nice, I will maybe make a jar of heather mead as well for later. Squirrel just ran across. I don't think I captured it though, because they are pretty quick. Anyway, we'll move around and I'll see what else is happening and what else has changed. I haven't been up here for 3 days, 3 mornings in a row, which is really unusual for me, but the weather has just been appalling. It's been so just kind of dreary and drizzly. And this is the other kind of heather that you see a lot on the heath, and I think, I haven't actually checked this out, but as far as I know, this is the cross-leaved heather. It's really different. It's like a strange little cluster on top of each of the spikes, and I think when I looked really closely, the stems, the leaves on the stems are arranged in 4s, like crosses, going right down the stem. So I think that's why I have read that there is cross-leaved heather on this heath. I think this is what it must be. I'd never seen it before, or not knowingly anyway. It's much more pink, as you can see, than the purple heather around it. You notice it straight away, and the leaves are more silvery looking as you see a clump of it. This is the plant that's taking over a lot now, I think, in what you're noticing on the heath. And I looked this one up last year. It's called hedge nettle or betony. And in the winter, it's spikes that stay up are beautiful. They dry out and they're just really delicate and glorious. Really much more noticeable in the winter than it is at this time of year, but I'm really noticing it because it hasn't been here before, or just little leaves coming out, and now suddenly it's got quite tall and you can see it's going to flower soon. They're kind of purpley flowers again, but we'll have a look at them anyway as the weeks go on. I don't think it'll be many weeks or even maybe days before they start to come out. I don't know if you can hear the crows in the background. And we must have come across from Crowwood, I think. And this is the heath bedstraw that I was talking about earlier. There was loads of this before, and now they're just odd little flowers. They're the little starry ones.